with some unexpected commission.
Oh, there's going to be all kinds of surprises here.
Oh boy. We should change it from Innovative Sunday to Surprise Sunday.
Well, the first surprise is I don't have my glasses on, so I opened up to the wrong page, even though it was marked. So this is a conversation that I've been wanting to have. And it's a conversation about your sabbatical. I want the nitty-gritty.
What was I doing?
I want the PTSD, the personal transformation story dissection.
Whoa.
I want to hear what moved you, what changed you, how you are no longer the person you were before you left. And so
The hero's journey.
I am grateful to you that you trust me to
Put me on the spot.
to guide this conversation. And when we were discussing this, you came up with the title, Revelations from the Road. And so I wanted to just open up this conversation first by checking with Charles Fillmore about his definition of revelation. An unveiling, a disclosure of truth, making known that which is hidden. The revelation of Christ to all men is the ultimate revelation. Divine revelation is much more common than is understood. The Spirit of truth is revealing the hidden wisdom to thousands on every hand. Poets and writers of truth are being inspired of the Most High. Quiet citizens in every walk of life are the recipients of the divine word. Every man who has earnestly asked for divine guidance or who has earnestly desired to do right in the sight of God and man is being taught by the Holy Spirit. An unveiling, a disclosure of truth, making that which is hidden known. So that's my first question, Reverend Stacey. Is there, when you think of something that was hidden, the thing that you could not have possibly known before sabbatical, that made itself known as you went through it and maybe didn't even make itself known until the sabbatical ended? Is there that one revelation that you had? Just to make things easy from the get-go.
Really? Well, yes, there is. But it didn't unfold in a twinkling of an eye, as the scripture says, but was a process, and a process of reflection while I was on sabbatical, while I wasn't here, and also in my return here. So just bookending my sabbatical of 3 months, for those of you that noticed I was gone in July and August and September of this year, I first set off to do what I like to do every summer, and that is visit the historic Chautauqua Institution in Western New York. So I was planning my 16th visit there. I hold the record for Unity of Chautauqua for the most visits. No one comes even close to my 16 invitations to speak to that group. But it also means being at Chautauqua as a whole. About 10,000 people a week are there on the grounds. And this year was extraordinary because we had 6 people from the Twin Cities there. Wow, was that exciting. 4 friends from our church and a couple from Unity of Minneapolis were there. So I was going someplace that I feel very familiar with, although who I will encounter, the musicians, the speakers, the preachers, all the folks are different every summer. So it was this mixture of known and unknown. After that experience, things just happened, doors opened for me, and I had an opportunity to go to Hawaii, where I have never been before. And at first I was reluctant. I don't know that I need to do that. But then when I was given lodging, and I called Delta, they said, we can do a round-trip fare to Hawaii from Minneapolis for $500. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm supposed to accept this and go. And I thought, well, this rounds out my sabbatical because this is going to a place I've never been before. Leaving Los Angeles on a flight for 5.5 hours over 2,600 miles of ocean before I get to land, on land, was kind of an eye-opening experience. I don't think I've ever been that distant from what I know. So I am getting to a point, believe it or not, whether it was Chautauqua, known to me, beloved to me, or Hawaii, unknown to me, a great big, experience. I think the revelation for me is the presence. The presence, divine, if we will, but also the presence of humanity throughout those situations. Just to give an example, we'll sing about it later, and Tim already set me up with this land is my land, your land. When I got to my place of lodging in Hawaii, I thought, what is right in the middle of the parking lot is this huge structure, 600 feet in one direction of lava stone. And I thought, what the heck is this? So I inquired and found out it was a structure built in the 16th century. It was a royal dwelling, and about 1818 King Kamehameha, who unified the Hawaiian Islands into one country, if you will, one place, lived in this structure. And it was in my parking lot. And just this eye-opening experience of the greatness and the wonder of the world I have a privilege of living in that has been built, created by so many beings that I don't know, that have gone before me. And it applies here. I wondered, what was on this ground where Unity South is 300 years ago? I mean, I was just blown away to live in a world so rich, and not just with human development, but all that the natural world has conspired to create this ground, this place that I walk upon. And Tim's singing triggered something years ago when I was involved at Unity Temple in Kansas City, and we were hosting Ram Dass. And the building was packed. More than 1,400 were in the sanctuary. To hear this man speak for 3.5 hours without stopping. And the first thing he did was pick up our Unity Temple Sunday bulletin that happened to be laying around. And it started out blessing everything that humanity did. Humanity did. Humanity did. All of us people did. All of us people did. And Ram Dass looked at it and he said, what about the animals? what about the rest of the life of the earth? And just opened this whole musing on his part and reflecting on the greatness of life and how we can get so focused on what is mine, where I live, my church, that we forget of the wonders that went before us to make this possible, to make our homes possible, to make our state of Minnesota possible. And so that was my revelation from the road. I had to go far, far away, like Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. I had to go far away into the unknown for me to discover how known, how understood it can be to appreciate life, this land, this community. It's somewhat overwhelming to have a feeling of gratitude coming up for how much good we've been given, how much we are blessed with. And I'll speak for myself. 99% of the time, I don't see it. I don't acknowledge it. I don't appreciate it. And that was my revelation as I sat 2,600 miles out in the Pacific Ocean, having experience, seeing amazing things both historically and in the present. You know, I thought hula was just tiny bubbles in my wine. And to see hula presented through the centuries, going back to its origin from Polynesia in the 9th century, and the incredible art that it is. And I knew it only from Elvis's Blue Hawaii, or something of my time and my place. Oh my God, the world's so much bigger. So that'll be it's big, it's great, I'm grateful.
So to have that profound experience of appreciation and gratitude and just awareness of I'll use one of your favorite expressions of wow. I'm curious what story you had to let go of. Who could you no longer be?
Well, that's an interesting question for me. And to say, let go, I want to preface it by saying, let go to know in a higher way. So it was the privilege of the sabbatical let me begin to lay down my identity as a unity minister. It let me go beyond my ministry of almost 40 years in the unity movement, which I cherish, which I love. But like anything for a human being, it can become your not rose-colored glasses, but unity-colored glasses, to where you see the whole world in just this one certain way. And to be able to lay that aside, to in due time pick it up in a much higher understanding than from where I laid it down. And at least for me, it's somewhat scary. I've put, in a practical sense, the majority of my adult life into this work. Some of you are planning on that as well, devoting yourselves to work in unity and to let go of a cherished identity, to be able to see the wow that's all around us. Some of you were here last Sunday when I talked about going to the place of refuge on the Big Island, a place called Pu'uhonua, a place of refuge. And one of the rituals that I didn't get to talk about last week was when privileged people gathered there in past centuries, they took a common cup. And as they shared that common cup among the elite, as it were, they first said, let us be willing to lay aside our differences so that we can see the bigger picture. Let us be willing to lay aside our differences as we drink from a common cup so that we can see the greater picture, what I like to call the wow. And just hearing that, something practiced centuries ago, thought, wow, there are answers, there are remedies, there are possibilities for where our world is right now. That there is a common cup we can share, that we can look beyond our differences, even though we cherish some of those differences very much, to be able to see something greater. And sometimes that takes going far away and setting everything aside to take it up in a new way.
In the short conversation that we had, you, and this may have been part of the ceremony to the place of refuge, but you had mentioned to me that this practice of some ritual where the idea was to interact with the priest in a way so that your consciousness would be raised, with the thought process being that once your consciousness is raised, that you then have to figure out how to take that back to your community.
Mm-hmm. That was something.
So before you go into the
Okay.
ritual, though, because what I want to know is, I want to know your personal experience. If you were to use the model, because I know that you'll have a good understanding of the ritual. That's your strong point, and you're always able to convey that. I want to know from your heart level, your higher consciousness that you feel moved to bring back to your spiritual community and show up differently.
Thank you. Yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road. That ritual practiced in that place of refuge that hit me so strongly was the fact that the people that came there, if they could make it physically to the place of refuge, then a priest would help them, feed them first, because they were exhausted from the journey, help them restore physically, but then take the premise that all deserved a second chance. But to gain that second chance, you worked with the priest to, and they used that term, although in Hawaiian, raise consciousness. I love that quote of Einstein that problems cannot be solved at the same level of consciousness that created them. There has to be a higher vision. And so when I reflected that on myself, the idea of going back home to my home, my community? How was I changed? How was consciousness raised that I could show up differently? And I think it was releasing a lot of things that I felt I was so sure of. Ways that things had to be. And a number of you are around my age. We get to a point to where sometimes it's kind of hard. We're quite sure how things should be and have to be. And to begin to, as Jesus said, become like a little child in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, or possibility, new possibilities. One had to let go. So I know when I first returned, my first week was wandering around to see what had happened. And then looking at different things, is this mine to take up again? I let this or that responsibility go for others to take care in my absence. Do I really need to take this up again? Maybe yes, maybe no. So that's the process I'm living in right now. What is most essential for me to do? What can I let go of in order to have what was gained in the place of refuge, a second chance? A second chance at life. And the power in that Hawaiian tradition was that people understood if someone had been to a place of refuge, a new insight, a new vision, don't mess with them. When they come home, don't tell them about how everything used to be. Let them have the opportunity of gaining a real second chance, a real renewal. Because we're tempted, aren't we? When someone has a big change in their life, to draw them back in the way we knew them. Kelly, you need to say Kelly so that I'm comfortable. No. That's a challenge. Well, I could muse on that all day, and we don't have all day.
So when I hear you say second chance and asking yourself whether to pick up things that are no longer yours to do, I think of that movement from do, have, be to be, have, do. No. I just confused that in my own mind. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. To start with the being first, to give up the doing, and to start from a place of being. And so my question for you is then, is there something that we need to be aware of, or is there a way that your community can support you in being this new version of yourself?
I get to ask for help.
Whether you receive it is asking is the easy part. Receiving is the more difficult.
Yes. The answer is yes. Don't ask for the details.
Okay.
But
To be continued.
to be continued. But it's a process. I've spoken of this before, that my great love and unity ministry, why I've given so many years to it, is about what I now call the wow, or helping people awaken to the potential, the spirit, the God, the possibility within them. And a lot of that requires not doing too much for them. And I love to do for others. Mm-hmm. But remembering their freedom. The challenging times that we're in now, I remember a Unity story. Back during World War II, people were writing to Unity magazine, as they always have, with questions and wanting response, and usually from Charles Fillmore. Myrtle had passed by World War II. And they were asking him, tell us, what should be done about the state of the world in the 1940s? And he said, go within. Go within. Go within. Seek within yourself to see what is true, what is good, what is for you. And people wrote back, and they didn't use the term cop-out as we would now, but they said, Mr. Fillmore, that doesn't do it. Tell us what we should be thinking, what we should be doing with the world state of affairs. And he said, go within. Go within. He would not take away their freedom to understand for themselves what they should do, how they should act, what they should think, how they should vote. Go within. You have to discern that for yourself within. And it's very easy if you're in the role of a teacher or a preacher or a leader or whatever, I'll just tell you. But that's destroying your freedom. It's that constant reminder to turn to that spirit that we claim as our teaching, that inner guide always with us. It's in our windows, the Christ in you, the divine spirit within you. Look to it. James can't tell you. I'll name a few leaders in our country far more famous than I. They can't tell you, other than to empower you to look within. The answer is there. But holding to that's not easy.
No, it's not, but I'm very excited about the idea of awakening and excited that that's what you're coming back with, a desire and a dedication to create space for us as a collective, not you as a minister over a congregation, but as a collective.
Maybe a guru?
Maybe. But as a collective, and knowing that we all have a personal responsibility in that awakening, and for us to be able to support you in your own awakening, and for you to support us in our awakening, that's exciting.
We're in this together.
And none of us have any answers, so why not hang out together and figure it out? So I, for one, am very, very excited, and I'm very grateful to you for your vulnerability. You didn't know what questions I was going to ask, neither did I. And just your willingness to be open and to share, and we could spend a whole afternoon doing this. I hope others are able to hear more about your your journey?
Oh, there's more to come. I think Gerald and I get to talk about it in our town hall meeting coming up in December 8th, I believe. Some more insights. Well, but there's a secret to the vulnerability, and that's trust. And I trust you,
Thank you.
or I wouldn't sit up here in the unknown with you.
Thank
So,
you. Thank
let
you.
us trust one another.
Yes. Very good. And with that, we have a meditation song in the silence. Thank you, Reverend Stacey.